Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be discussing stereotypes that Hispanic Americans face. So, the stereotypes that Hispanic Americans face are that Hispanics are lazy, they are uneducated, they are stealing our jobs, they're rapists and criminals, and generally just terrible things that are untrue. So, we're first going to talk about the history, where these stereotypes come from, and then we're going to be going into why these stereotypes aren't true. And as we will close, we're going to talk about people who have broken through these stereotypes, people that have disproven them, mainly Hispanic Americans or also Hispanics that came to the United States. So, first, let's talk about the history. Where do these stereotypes come from?
Well, I think the stereotype came from in the 1930s with the Great Depression. We got a lot of immigrants coming in, and then Americans assumed that they were taking all our jobs, and that's kind of where it started with the Great Depression.
Yeah, the Great Depression, there was a lot of racial tension back then, and especially with the economy being in shambles and people losing their jobs everywhere. It wasn't just Americans that were losing their jobs, it was also foreigners that were losing their jobs. Foreigners, Americans alike, there was a high unemployment rate. But even then, there was a lot of racial blame towards foreigners because it's an easy scapegoat for people to choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, however, what most people don't really know is that the U.S. went to the Mexico government and said, hey, how about you guys bring us some people over here? We'll give them we'll get them here legally. They'll go ahead and be able to work, and we'll pay them for it, this is what they called the Bracero program, where a lot of Hispanics back then came to work by the U.S. The U.S. came and did all types of like stuff for them, like they shower them and stuff. I know it sounds weird, but they were treated kind of weirdly. But they were working here. They were working here legally by the United States, and that's how many Americans were able to, years later, got in the road to citizenship legally. Mm-hmm. And so many people don't really realize that they were brought here by the U.S. government. They just assumed that they saw an opportunity and they came, when in reality they were invited to come and work here.
Yeah, that's what happens usually in economies. Like back in the 1930s, there was a lot of programs like with other foreigners, such as like the Chinese or Cubans and of course Mexicans. They were brought here by the United States to do jobs that most people weren't wanting to do. Most people didn't want to do these jobs, such as like they were very high labor intensive, and they were being paid like under minimum wage or under what would be considered like a living wage. But what most people don't realize is that immigrants are a huge economic boom to the United States economy. They are so important and integral to just the agricultural industry or even the tech industry, with a lot of foreigners that come from Asia or even other countries like Mexico that want to come here and learn and be a part of our tech industry. It's just a very great thing to have for the United States.
Which, like you're saying, they didn't really mind doing these jobs because they were like, it was the benefit of making some money, and America provided that for them, so that's why they did it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's a job. It puts food on your table, a roof over your head. It gives gas to your car. You do what you can and for your kids. Whatever people said to you, you just kind of brush it off and just do your job.
Yeah, and I think like with how many immigrants are in these jobs or in these like low, I wouldn't want to say intelligence requirements. Yeah, they don't have any requirements, like very entry level jobs, like such as picking fruit or being a janitor or working fast food or something like that. Like these jobs, you don't really need that much of a experience for them. But so with these jobs, this is where people kind of like get the uneducated side of it, like how, okay, well, why are so many Hispanics doing these jobs? Why are they doing these jobs? Is it because they're uneducated? Is it because they're not smart enough to do these jobs? What do you think, Geraldo?
Well, I mean, in a sense, we all need to get our money, and in a way we all gotta help the economy, and in a way, too, that they don't want to do these. Many people don't want to do these jobs like being a janitor.
That's true.
And all that, or hard labor jobs like do construction and only get like what 18, 20 an hour. So I mean, in a way, somebody has to do it sooner or later, and yeah, we just got to do the very best we can to provide for our family, and then most importantly for the country that we're living in.
Yeah. And so this brings us into another stereotypes that Hispanic Americans could possibly face, and lately it's been because of the 2016 election of Donald Trump. So we have the Mexico is not sending their best, they're sending their rapists, their criminals, their murderers. And well, really we know where that came from. We know where the stereotype comes from, but it was really reinforced because of the Trump administration. What do you guys think about this, and like how it's untrue or how it's being hyperinflated?
Well, I believe that Trump is just throwing out these accusations only because of he was just trying to find a way to gain his own upper hand for some apparent reason. But it really is just, from what I'm hearing right now about how we're working hard with our education, how the Americans brought in Mexicans into California for their jobs and everything like that. It's just he's just throwing in falsifications that are just not really true.
Yeah, because he's giving people a voice, the people that believe that sort of thing as well. So he has to have followers sooner or later.
Yeah, he's empowering them basically with he's trying to gain their respect, I guess, was what you mean.
Yeah.
But with little information, with little facts.
Yeah, or choosing anecdotes such as the tragic shooting that happened in San Francisco earlier 2 years ago, I believe. It was a woman who was shot by someone that was an illegal immigrant, and they kind of wanted to use that as, this is what happens all over. Like, you're not seeing what happens. This always happens in sanctuary cities or sanctuary states.
Yeah, in reality, that's not really. I mean, if you look at the statistics, most people who are rapists are actually of Caucasian race. I believe it's about 55% of them who happen to be rapists happen to be Caucasian. So that's Hispanics didn't really even make that the high end of numbers in there.
All right, so we've talked about the history behind these stereotypes and also why these stereotypes are untrue. We're going to take a short break right now, and we're going to come back talking about the people who broke these stereotypes and focus on two specific individuals who we believe are exemplary in this fact.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting, whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
or working behind the scenes, then this is the class for you.
For more information, contact Greg Poff, that's me, at solano.edu.
we hope to see you here next semester, and remember,
It's more than just sports, it's an education.
And we're back. Hi. We're going to be talking about the people who we believe broke these stereotypes of Hispanic Americans and focus on two individuals. But first, we just want to talk about people that we believe are that have broken these stereotypes. So there's many actresses, comedians, historians, and professors. There's like Salma Hayek, George Lopez.
But I think we want to focus mainly in two people, one being a teacher and one being a doctor. So,
more specifically with the doctor, Dr. Jimenez, he was born in Mexico, Mexicali. That's what from what I remember it's called. He is a renowned neuroscientist and neurosurgeon. He even was led in the International Health Institute for cancer, fighting cancer.
Yeah, Dr. Alfredo Quiñones Hinojosa. He was born in Mexicali, Mexico. He actually came to the United States illegally at the age of 19. As he says, he literally jumped the fence. He actually got caught, and that same day decided to jump the fence back. He actually got into the States a second time, and he came to live with a couple of family members in Fresno. He was a cotton picker, a painter, a welder, and he decided that he wanted more for his life, and he's the oldest of 6 kids, and he put himself through school, started tutoring people. Eventually he went to medical school because he was debating between a couple of schools, and he decided for medical school. He actually is a neurosurgeon. He is also the assistant director of the neurological and oncology program at Hopkins Hospital. He is also cancer research, and he actually happens to find a cure for cancer via stem cells. That's actually what he's working on. And from what I heard about him, everybody who has actually met him and has to go through surgery with him, he always starts the day with, "Hi, how are you? How's your family?" Kind of like, like he's your friend or something, He's very warm and very understanding. And he doesn't forget where he came from. He doesn't forget all the stuff that he had to do in order to get where he is at right now. He's actually very renowned and very looked after. He's, I guess, a leading person in his field right now, and he did all this through education, and he broke many barriers, one of them being that he didn't speak any English when he first got here. I mean, I can relate to that. When I first came here, I didn't know a word of English, and it was hard. It was really, really hard. So for him to actually become a doctor and literally not only have to learn English, but a different language, because in medicine, it's like you speak a third language. It's totally different. You don't go front back, you go posterior, anterior, and you have many Greek words and Latin words in there that you have to memorize and remember what they mean. So, I mean, this man was great. He's a leading person, and he actually is helping other people as well. He had people or students of his who didn't have a place to live, and put them into his house so that he can help them while they were going to school themselves. So
That's amazing. And he was an immigrant, which is breaking the stereotype.
exactly.
And I feel like a lot of people here can kind of relate. They probably know someone that is a immigrant or a son or daughter from an immigrant, and they could probably tell you that their father or their mother works very hard, and they try to provide for their family and to have them have a better life and go to school and get educated, and just like all around try to create a better person than what they could possibly do.
Which most immigrants came for the American dream, so
That's true.
they want to make better for their lives and for their families because they weren't getting that in their country.
That's true. Yeah, and this is all thanks to amazing teachers who take the time to teach these kids who not only have to deal with learning how to do really, really, really hard equations, but had to read them, especially when you don't even know that language, when it's not your first language. Such teacher as Jaime Escalante.
No relation.
No relation.
Yeah, no relation to me.
Yeah, I mean, he actually came from La Paz, Bolivia, I believe. He
Yes.
was a teacher in there, and he came to the United States and taught in Los Angeles, I believe.
Yes, Los Angeles was, I believe,
LA.
inner city, mainly public schools. And the reason that Jaime Escalante is really a stereotype breaking character, or just a role model for this, is because what he did was he showed back in the 70s and 80s that inner city kids are not just uneducated. They're not just like dumb. They can learn calculus. They can actually understand what's going on in these classes. And it was so kind of ingrained in the idea that inner city kids are uneducated that when his students, many of them were Hispanic or from low-income areas, when they took the AP exam for calculus, a lot of them scored 5s or 4s, very high scores that went towards college credits. And the AP board exam, they saw this and they were kind of confused and they thought that they were just cheating. So they made them take the tests again, and they passed again under high scrutiny, high supervision, and it was proven that they were not cheating, that they actually learned this information for themselves. So what he really did was he showed that people are able to learn this information, that a lot of people are just like, they're going to look at you and they're going to think that because you come from someplace or because of the way that you look, you're not able to understand or to learn something. But he was able to show that you can teach these kids, you can get through to them, you can make them understand what's important in life and what education really matters to them.
Now, and if you think this sounds kind of similar or you hear this somewhere, you're actually right. This were the basis of a movie called Stand and Deliver. It is actually based in true events. It is actually based in the life of Jaime Escalante. So yeah, you're right. You're seeing it in TV. You're seeing it in the movie theaters. And it's because he made it happen. It was such a big deal back then to think that Hispanics were that smart, that could be smart actually, that could like actually know what numbers mean. It was such a big deal that they decided to make it into a movie. So yeah, it's not just fiction, it's a real life event.
So immigrants, we help the economy. Actually, doctors save lives, and just overall, like, it's not what people are assuming we are to be.
True, that's true. Just remember that just because somebody speaks in a broken English, don't make fun of them, because in reality, they know a different language. Probably most people can't say that. They know 2 languages, they're just struggling with one. I mean, how many people do you know that can speak one language, 2 or 3? I mean, sometimes these people learn, not only they know Spanish, they know English, they know Spanish, and some even know their own dialect, because in other countries they still use dialects, such as the Philippines, or I believe some people in Mexico still use the Mayan dialect, or the Indian dialects. So they learn their own dialect, they learn Spanish, and now they're learning English. They're trilingual. Most people can't say that. So don't make fun of people who have a broken English, because they know a little bit more than you do. They just haven't mastered it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all we have for today. We hope you enjoyed this information about these stereotypes and how they aren't true, and also about the people that broke these stereotypes. Have a nice day.
If you have an interest in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether it's behind the scenes or on camera,
then this is the class for you.
Class is held every Wednesday from 1:30 to 4:30 in room 121 alongside the library building.
For more information, contact Greg Poff. That's me at solano.edu.
We hope to see you here next semester. And remember,
It's more than just sports. It's an education.